Thank you for joining us tonight. You're now with me, Shel Shaminato, for TVS Nightline. We begin with the headlines. Now, Perikatan Nasional (PN) will support Gabungan Parti Sarawak or GPS in the upcoming state election. GPS Chairman Dato' Patinggi Abang Johari Junopeng expressed his gratitude for PN support, which would increase further the chances of GPS winning big in the election. He said GPS, which comprises of PBB, PRS, SUPP and PDP, would always welcome any party that is willing to support and assist them.
Yang bantu kita. Ya, aja. Orang nak nolong kita, kita sambutlah. Orang nak melawan kita lawan baliklah.
He said this after launching the broadband connectivity in rural areas at Terawan, Miri. Last Sunday, the PN Supreme Council decided to mobilize the party machinery at the grassroots level to support and help GPS win the state election. Meanwhile, Abang Johari did not comment on past Sarawak's request to put their candidate in one out of the 82 state constituencies.
Saya pergi Terawan, saya dah mikir ya. Dia gagal masang broadband lah. Habis broadband, bagulah.
Board assistant. And a total of 150 rural areas throughout Sarawak will have high-speed broadband connectivity by the end of this year. This will be achieved through the Rural Broadband Framework Project, which is being implemented by the Sarawak Digital Economy Corporation, or ASDAC.
The state government had allocated 200 million ringgit to SDEC for this initiative. This development will facilitate the satellite technology of very small aperture terminal. This will provide internet connectivity to rural areas.
Ini adalah satu program di mana tempat-tempat yang diwujudkan internet ini tidak sampai kepada the normal grid, the normal line lah. Jadi ini ada isolated line. Tapi apabila kita gunakan satelit, ia akan push up nyampun connectivity. Kerana itu adalah program baru khusus untuk sekolah. Untuk sekolah kita sudah ada SARES yang mesti ada kuasa elektrik. Kalau ada kuasa elektrik pun dapat dilaksanakan. Jadi apa yang kita laksanakan ialah kawasan-kawasan yang sudah ada elektrik di bawah SARES, kita letakkanlah device ini.
As of now, the state government had implemented this project in 100 rural areas with 50 more to go. The broadband connectivity will provide the locals with internet speed of 30 megabytes per second.
Ini dapat digunakan dengan baik kerana internet ini yang macam pisau. Macam pisau. Kalau kita masak, kita gunakan pisau untuk kebaikan ngolah sayur, ngiris ikan, ngiris buah untuk kebaikan. Tapi pisau salah guna boleh membunuh. Dia juga internet. Gunakanlah untuk kebaikan, jangan malah fitnah.
On the other hand, the Sarawak government had allocated a sum of 200 million ringgit to the Sarawak Digital Economy Corporation, or ASDAC. The allocation was for the purpose of setting up 150 sites for rural broadband network across the state in the effort to close the digital gap between the rural and urban areas.
Chief Minister Dato' Patinggi Abang Johari Junopeng said 100 out of the 150 sites identified had been connected to the Sarawak Rural Broadband Network, MySRBN.
Ini adalah satu program di mana tempat-tempat yang diwujudkan internet ini tidak sampai kepada the normal grid, the normal line lah. Jadi ini ada isolated line. Tapi apabila kita gunakan satelit, ia akan push up nyampun connectivity. Sebabnya hanya gunakan special device.
He hoped that with the availability of the internet, it could be used wisely and not to be misused to slander anyone, which can cause problems in the community.
Saya harap ini dapat digunakan dengan baik kerana internet ini yang macam pisau. Tapi pisau salah guna boleh membunuh. dia juga internet. Gunakanlah untuk kebaikan, jangan malah fitnah.
On another note, Abang Johari said the Sarawak government would proceed with its plan to build the Miri Marudi Long Terawan Road, which would hopefully transform the landscape of the constituency in the near future.
Dalam masa 5 tahun, insyaAllah, thank God, we will be able to deliver this.
Abang Johari pointed out that Baram has huge potential to be developed, not just in the agricultural sector, but also tourism.
In a bid to be more inclusive, the state government is extending the Kanjalang Gold Card or KGC membership to the Indian Muslim community in Sarawak.
The Welfare Community Wellbeing, Women, Family and Childhood Development Minister Datuk Sri Fatimah Abdullah said this was to build a support system for the elderly in line with the government's policy.
Dasar warga emas negara ialah untuk mewujudkan warga emas yang berdikari, bermartabat diri. Kita mau dignity kita masih nak ya. Bermartabat diri dan kita mau dihormati. Dihormati dengan mengoptimumkan potensi diri kita demi meningkatkan kesejahteraan hidup dalam pembangunan negara.
At an event on Tuesday, Fatimah presented the KGC card to 33 members from the Indian Muslim community. So far, the ministry has received over 200,000 KGC applications, while 184,404 cards had been printed. The Kanjalang Gold Card allowed Sarawakians aged 60 and above to enjoy special privileges and discounts from participating businesses. At the same time, Fatimah said that her ministry would seek fund to assist in the building of the 2 million ringgit Sarawak Indian Muslim Community Centre SIMC in Kuching.
Dasar itu inklusif. Dasar-dasarnya adalah inklusif. No one should be left behind. Everybody should be given focus and attention.
The proposed 2-story building would see the centre become a hub for the Indian Muslim community. The Indian Muslim community in Sarawak is estimated to comprise around 300 members.
Meanwhile, a total of 155 land titles for Kampung Buntal Lama residents had been registered and issued under Section 18 of the State Land Code. The continuous efforts of the state government in surveying the perimeter of the native customary right lands were a relief to the local residents.
Sekali lagi saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada kerajaan dan telah memberi kepada saya surat geran tanah untuk jaga tanah supaya tidak dicerobohi oleh orang lain.
Sekurang-kurangnya tanah tu kami dapat mula rumah baru lah untuk kesihatan kami lah.
Meanwhile, Assistant Minister for Water Supply, Dr. Abdul Rahman Junaidi said it would be a historic moment for the villagers. After the development of Kampung Buntal expansion scheme was introduced, the present settlement would still needed to be preserved for the future generations.
Bincang dengan JK dengan JKK untuk memastikan bahawa setiap lot rumah yang ada di kampung kita, khasnya di Kampung Buntal itu dapat dikeluarkan title, dapat dikeluarkan geran tanah.
The handing over ceremony of the land titles was officiated by Deputy Chief Minister Dato' Amar Awang Tengah Liasan.
Yang pasti program-program pengukuran kampung ini adalah program berterusan. Ianya tidak akan terhenti. Terima kasih.
On to the next update. Around 70% of Saratok residents have registered for the National COVID-19 immunization program.
Deputy Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, Dato' Ali Biju, said to date over 1,000 frontliners in Saratok have already been vaccinated. He also appealed to the public not to believe rumors about the vaccine spread on social media, as there are irresponsible quarters seeking to mislead instead of helping to stop the COVID-19 pandemic. Ali added the National COVID-19 Immunization Program is one of the government's key areas under the strategic program to empower the people and economy, or Pemerkasa. He further pointed out that the government is prioritizing stopping the COVID-19 pandemic, hence the increase in allocation for immunization programs from 3 billion ringgit to 5 billion ringgit to accelerate targeted immunization by December.
And a company executive was detained to assist in the investigation of a false claim of over 5.8 million ringgit.
The 41-year-old suspect arrived at the Kuching Court complex around 9 a.m. on Tuesday. Magistrate Zubaida Sharkawi issued a 4-day remand order against the suspect starting Tuesday to assist the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, or MACC, in the investigation. She was suspected of falsifying a claim in 2017 for a food supply tender to a school hostel under the Ministry of Education, Malaysia. The case is being investigated under Section 18 of the MACC Act 2009.
Back to the Nightline with the COVID-19 development as the State Disaster Management Committee, or SDMC, reported 385 new COVID-19 infections that were detected in Sarawak. Out of that number, 128 were detected in the Sri Aman prison. At the same time, the State Health Department had declared a new cluster, which was the Jalan Maju cluster in Cebu. 228 recovered cases were reported. Meanwhile, Asajaya district had changed status to yellow from green. Sri Aman district had changed from orange status to red status. Meanwhile, Serato and Sabah districts had changed status from yellow to orange. And the Enhanced Movement Control Order, or EMCO, in Kampung Sungai Rasau, Batang Igan, had unsettled the residents there. The main concern of the residents during the EMCO was the disruption of food supplies. Fortunately, there were people who were concerned and willing to come and provide food assistance.
Rombongan dari SUPP hantar makanan bantuan untuk kawasan sini, Kampung Rasau, sebab kawasan ini baru lockdown PKPD hari Sabtu. So, sudah ada 4 hari. Penduduk sini ada 9 rumah panjang, ada semua 166 pintu.
Furthermore, there was no road access to town from this village. Therefore, it was hard for the villagers to get food supplies.
Kenapa kita hantar sini? Sebab sini tempat belum dapat sampai guna jalan raya. Sini orang mau beli barang, mau pergi pasar atau guna sungai. Ya, di sini lockdown memang lebih susah lah untuk orang sini. Ya, saya harap kali ini kita dapat tolong, kita tolong. Ya. Cabaran sini ialah tidak ada jalan. Kita mesti guna perahu kat saya hantar. Jalan sini connect pergi Cebu, ya mau masuk itu ladang sawit, ya lebih susah sikit lah.
For residents of Sungai Rasau, the food assistance given was indeed helpful, especially in ensuring continuous supplies.
Jadi bantuan ini kami amat memerlukan dan amat berterima kasih kepada kerajaan yang memberi bantuan yang seperti ini untuk sambung makanan kami pada masa yang sekarang ini yang PKPD ini.
Cukuplah makai, terima kasih yang balau ke mereka kami pemakai tahu lah kesari tahu. Terima kasih kita oleh nolong kami ketusah kena COVID tahu. Umumnya kami tahu menua kami tahu sikit susah. Lepas ada kantin dah. Cina pun takut sangkai pak menua kami tahu. Lepas kami tahu kena tapi tahu lah.
Following the next news, as the government should consider the proposal to allow the opening of schools based on a rotation system to curb the COVID-19 outbreak. Although all schools are instructed to follow strict SOP, all risks should be taken into account. Cebu Divisional Disaster Management Committee Coordinator Dr. Anwar Rapai recently announced the reopening of schools in Cebu based on the rotation system. The decision was made after taking into account the situation of the COVID-19 outbreak in the division and to avoid the spread of the outbreak in schools.
STU sangat-sangat berharap agar semua bahagian di Sarawak mengambil langkah yang sama dan juga berharap JPN boleh mengambil maklum perkara ini agar tindakan yang sama dibenarkan kerana kita melihat penularan wabak COVID-19 ini tiada bezanya sama ada ianya di Sibu ke Kuching, Miri, Seri Aman dan sebagainya. Maka tindakan yang sama perlu kita ambil supaya keselamatan para warga sekolah termasuk guru dan pelajar ini boleh terjamin. Ya.
Ini amat tepat dan sesuai bagi mengekang penularan rantaian pandemik COVID-19 di Sibu. Oleh itu, bagi zon-zon yang berkeadaan sama dengan zon Sibu dan berhasrat untuk mencontohi langkah dan tindakan Jawatankuasa Bencana Sibu, TVS amat menyokong usaha ke arah tersebut.
And social media users who intentionally spread rumours about the alleged negative effects of COVID-19 vaccines online could be charged under the Antifake news law.
Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Adam Baba said as part of the ongoing emergency period, the Health Ministry has made several proposals to the Cabinet and National Security Council related to fake news. The minister added that those spreading such misinformation can be held as attempting to cause social unease or to trigger mass panic.
Thank you for staying with me. And the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah today conferred the Darjah Kebesaran Seri Utama Mahkota Wilayah or SUMW Award, which carries the title Datuk Seri Utama to 4 individuals in conjunction with the Federal Territory Day celebration this year. They are the Yang di-Pertuan Negeri of Penang, Tun Dr. Abdul Rahman Abbas, Yang di-Pertuan Negeri of Sabah, Tun Juhar Mahiruddin, the wife of the Yang di-Pertuan Negeri of Sarawak, Tuan Datuk Patinggi Ragat Kudi Taib, and the Yang di-Pertuan Negeri of Melaka, Tun Muhammad Ali Rustam. Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Aziza Amina Maimuna Iskandaria was in attendance at the investiture ceremony held at Istana Negara. Also present were Federal Territories Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa and his deputy, Datuk Seri Dr. Santara Kumar. Meanwhile, the General Presidency for the Affairs of the Grand Holy Mosque and the Prophet's Holy Mosque has completed all its preparations to receive Umrah performers and worshippers during Ramadan who have been vaccinated, while adhering to health protocols, precautionary and preventive measures enforced on the 2 holy mosques.
According to the spokesman of the General Presidency for the Affairs of the Grand Holy Mosque and the Prophet's Holy Mosque, Hani bin Hosni Haider, he has confirmed that the Presidency obligated all of its employees participating in the service of Umrah performers and worshippers to take vaccines. This is to ensure their safety and the safety of all the visitors of the Grand Holy Mosque to perform their rituals with ease, taking into account the highest health standards. With regard to Umrah, the spokesperson drew attention to the fact that the General Presidency has allocated the Mataf courtyard for Umrah performers only, creating 14 virtual paths for the performance or tawaf or circumambulation, taking into account the physical distancing, and the 3 paths closest to the Kaaba are specified for the elderly and people with disabilities.
And rumah Jeff Achum at Bukit Limau in Lapo, Baram was just weeks away from getting round-the-clock electricity supply when a faulty generator is believed to have caused the fire that razed it to the ground on Monday night.
The fire left 180 residents homeless when it destroyed 19 of the Longhouse's 24 doors. Assistant Minister of Local Government and Marudi Assemblyman Dr. Pengwang Manggil said wiring at the Longhouse was fully completed and merely awaiting connection to the state's electricity grid after SESCO's technical staff made their final inspections. According to the Longhouse chief, the fire victims are temporarily putting up at their farmhouses instead of the designated disaster relief center in Lapo. Pengwang supported the decision as it was deemed wiser and a more prudent move due to the threat of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And a woman lodged a police report against her son after he ran amok at their home in Piasau. The 58-year-old said the incident happened around 9 p.m. on Sunday, shortly after she discovered 2 electrical appliances were missing from the house.
Suspecting the 2 appliances had been sold without her knowledge, she proceeded to question her 31-year-old son, who then flew into a fit of rage and threatened to harm her. Fearing for her safety, she decided to report the matter to the police for further action. She also stated her belief as her son had previously sold other household items without her knowledge. Police are investigating the case under Section 506 of the Penal Code for criminal intimidation.
In the same development, the government has agreed to provide certain relaxation of conditions to manufacturing and services companies that have been approved, with incentives under the purview of the Malaysian Investment Development Authority.
MIDA said this is part of proactive measures being undertaken by the government to continue Malaysia's economic revitalization efforts by facilitating investments and restoring investors' confidence. However, it said with the implementation of this relaxation mechanism, a company might be considered for certain relaxations on achieving the approved thresholds or meeting the implementation timeline of their approved projects, subject to compliance of identified criteria set by the government. It said the relaxation of compliance with stipulated conditions is for the period between 2020 and 2021.
And that concludes TVS Nightline for tonight. And as always, thank you for tuning in to your local news tonight. Here with me, Shel Chamato, and I'll see you next time. Have a good night.